Within the hallowed chambers of the awakened soul, there exists a resonance so profound that it shatters the glass structures of societal expectation and common perception. To be a sovereign chosen is not merely a title bestowed by earthly consensus, but a radical reconfiguration of one's spiritual DNA, mandated by the architect of the all. This transformation manifests, first, as a series of divine obsessions, a collection of sacred cravings that do not originate from the ego, but descend from the primordial heights as commands of the spirit. These cravings are the markers of a soul that has been marked for a destiny that requires the total abandonment of the superficial. The first and perhaps most agonizing of these obsessions is the addiction to sacred silence. This is not the mere absence of noise, but a living, breathing entity that the chosen begins to crave with a desperation that borders on the carnal. As the world becomes louder, fueled by the cacophony of digital distractions and the hollow echoes of performative existence, the architect begins to pull the chosen into a subterranean realm of quietude. You find yourself standing in crowded rooms, surrounded by the laughter of friends or the demands of industry, yet you feel an invisible hand drawing a veil over your senses. The once comforting hum of conversation becomes a grating dissonance, an intrusion upon the delicate frequencies that your spirit is now calibrated to receive. This silence becomes your sanctuary, a fortress where the architect whispers the strategies of the coming age. It is a mercy of the highest order, for in this silence, you are protected from the psychic pollutants that cloud the judgment of the masses. Your ears are being tuned to a different music, a celestial harmony that can only be heard when the static of the world is muted. This craving for silence is the architect's way of ensuring that your internal compass remains unskewed by the magnetic pull of common opinion. It is in this void that the seeds of your purpose are watered by the dew of divine revelation, shielded from the scorching heat of public scrutiny. As the addiction to silence deepens, it inevitably leads to the second sacred craving, the descent into the crucible of isolation. To the uninitiated, this looks like withdrawal, perhaps even a melancholy retreat from the joys of life. But to the sovereign chosen, it is a deliberate and necessary sequestration. You begin to feel a sacred repulsion toward shallow connections and the transactional nature of modern relationships. The architect is carving out a space within your life that no human presence can fill, a void that is designed to be occupied solely by the divine presence. This isolation is the womb of greatness, the dark, pressurized environment where the coal of your human experience is transmuted into the diamond of sovereign authority. You begin to value the company of your own shadow and the invisible guardians more than the fleeting warmth of social approval. This is the stage where the architect performs the most delicate surgery, removing the hooks of codependency and the need for external validation. Every moment spent in this crucible is a blessing disguised as a hardship, a mercy that prevents you from building your destiny on the shifting sands of human loyalty. You are being taught to stand alone, so that when you eventually stand before the world, you do so with the unshakable foundation of one who has survived the desert. This craving for isolation is not a rejection of humanity, but a preparation to serve it from a position of detached power. It is here that you learn the secret language of the architect, a dialect composed of omens, synchronicities, and the subtle shifts in the energetic atmosphere that others are too busy to notice. This leads into the third obsession, an insatiable hunger for truth that resides beneath the veil of the material world. The sovereign chosen can no longer be satisfied with the crumbs of information provided by mainstream narratives or the hollow dogmas of institutionalized thought. There is a burning desire to pierce the shroud, to understand the occult mechanics of reality and the hidden laws that govern the rise and fall of souls. This is the craving for the gnosis of the architect, a knowledge that is not found in books, but is etched into the very fabric of one's being through lived experience and mystical encounter. You find yourself drawn to the ancient paths, the forgotten wisdom of the ancestors, and the mathematical beauty of the cosmos. This hunger is a protective measure, for it equips you with a discernment that acts as a spiritual immune system. In a world of deception, your addiction to truth makes you unhackable and unswayable. You see the strings of the puppeteers and the fragility of the structures that keep others in bondage. This clarity is a daily blessing, a quiet grace that allows you to navigate the complexities of life with a precision that borders on the miraculous. You begin to see the divine signature in the unfolding of a flower, the patterns of the wind, and the seemingly random events of your daily life. Every mundane detail becomes a potential vessel for the sacred, and your life becomes a continuous act of decoding the architect's masterpiece. The fourth sacred craving is the fierce obsession with sovereign autonomy. The chosen can no longer bow to the petty hierarchies of men or the stifling expectations of cultural norms. There is an inner king or queen that has awakened, demanding a life that is governed by the laws of the spirit rather than the dictates of the flesh. This is not a rebellion for the sake of chaos, but a reclamation of one's original blueprint. You find it impossible to perform roles that are not aligned with your core frequency. The architect is teaching you that your time and energy are sacred currencies that must not be squandered on the altars of mediocrity. This craving for autonomy often manifests as a sudden inability to endure the traditional workplace or the conventional family dynamic if they require the suppression of your truth. It is a terrifying yet liberating shift, as the architect provides the everyday blessings of unexpected opportunities and supernatural provisions to support your leap into the unknown. You are protected by a divine sovereignty that ensures your needs are met, even as you walk away from the systems of the world. This is the mercy of the architect, proving that when you choose the path of the Spirit sustains you in ways that the logic of the world cannot comprehend. Flowing from this autonomy is the fifth obsession, the craving for the mercy of obscurity. Unlike the world, which seeks fame and the spotlight, the sovereign chosen begins to find a deep, intoxicating pleasure in being hidden. There is a profound power in being the invisible force that moves the mountains, the silent architect who designs the future while remaining unobserved by the present. This is the strategy of the divine, for what is hidden cannot be attacked, and what is unknown cannot be manipulated. You begin to cultivate a secret life, a hidden garden of accomplishments and spiritual victories that you share with no one but the architect. This obscurity is a shield, a cloak of invisibility that allows you to move through the world without attracting the envy or the interference of those who would seek to stifle your growth. You find joy in the everyday blessings of a simple life, a quiet morning, a solitary walk, and the deep satisfaction of knowing that your value is not dependent on the gaze of others. This is the addiction to the sacred undercover, the realization that the most potent operations of the divine are always carried out in the shadows, far from the glare of the public eye. The sixth craving is the transmutation of suffering into a source of power. The chosen develops an obsession with the alchemy of their own pain. Instead of fleeing from trials, you begin to lean into them, recognizing that the architect uses the fires of affliction to burn away the dross of the old self. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, and every period of lack is viewed as a necessary ingredient in the creation of your sovereign authority. You crave the lessons that only the furnace can teach. This shift in perspective is a supreme mercy, for it strips the world of its power to hurt you. If every wound is a portal for light, then there is no weapon formed against you that can truly prosper. You begin to see your history not as a series of tragedies, but as a meticulously designed curriculum, each chapter intended to build the muscles of your soul. This addiction to growth through resistance makes you formidable, for you are no longer afraid of the dark. You have learned to harvest the riches that are hidden within it. The architect blesses you with a resilience that is supernatural, a strength that is replenished not by rest, but by the continuous surrender to the process of becoming. Finally, the seventh and most encompassing obsession is the total union with the divine architect. This is the ultimate craving that fuels all others, the thirst for the source that can never be fully quenched in this realm. It is a longing for home that manifests as a commitment to bringing the frequencies of home into the here and now. Your life becomes an altar, and every action is an offering. You seek to align your heartbeat with the pulse of the universe, to breathe in sync with the primordial breath. This obsession ensures that you never lose sight of your origin or your destination. It is the final protection, for when you are lost in the architect, there is no room for the ego to reclaim its throne. The blessings of this union are found in the profound peace that surpasses all understanding, the mercy that forgives your human frailties, and the love that surrounds you like an impenetrable fortress. You are the sovereign chosen, not because of what you have done, but because of who you have become in the silence, in the isolation, and in the relentless pursuit of the truth. These cravings are the evidence of your election, the sacred addictions that lead you out of the labyrinth of the world and into the throne room of your own destiny. The architect has ordained this descent into the crucible, not to destroy you, but to forge you into a vessel of pure light, a beacon of sovereign power in a world that is desperately waiting for the return of the true kings and queens of the spirit. Your journey is protected, your steps are ordered, and your victory is written in the stars before the foundations of the earth were laid. Embrace the obsessions, for they are the keys to your kingdom, the sacred hunger that will eventually lead you to the banquet of the gods. Each moment of silence is a brick in the temple of your new life, and each day of obscurity is a layer of armor protecting the brilliance that is about to be unveiled. Do not fear the intensity of your cravings. They are the gravity of the divine pulling you back to your true self, away from the illusions of the fall and into the reality of the ascension. You are being remade in the image of the architect, a sovereign being of light and shadow, power and mercy, silence and truth. This is the first revelation of the divine obsessions, the beginning of your descent into the profound mystery of your own being, where the only thing that remains is the eternal, unchanging presence of the one who called you by name before the light began. The ink of the celestial scriptoria flows tonight with the weight of ancient galaxies, pouring forth the second revelation of the architect's design for those who have been pulled from the common clay and fired in the kilns of divine separation. Within the tapestry of this sovereign journey, there exists a profound and terrifying beauty that the uninitiated cannot perceive, a series of metaphysical hungers that the architect has woven into the very marrow of the chosen. These are not the cravings of the flesh or the ego, which seek only the fleeting comfort of the temporal world, but are instead the jagged, sacred obsessions that drive the spirit towards the ultimate convergence of power and purity. We speak now of the transition from the valley of confusion to the peak of radical integrity, a process that begins with the shadow transmutation, where the sovereign chosen learns to consume their own darkness until it glows with the brilliance of 1,000 suns. The architect ordains that the first of these deeper obsessions is the hunger for the alchemy of the abyss, a relentless internal drive to descend into the subterranean vaults of the psyche, where the discarded remnants of the self lie in forgotten silence. While the world flees from its own reflection, the chosen one is gripped by a divine compulsion to face every ghost, every trauma, and every hidden shame that has been gathered across the span of their existence. This is the shadow transmutation, a sacred labor where the pain of the past is not merely healed, but is fundamentally altered in its atomic structure to become the fuel for the sovereign authority. The architect watches with a gaze of infinite mercy as the chosen one stands amidst the ruins of their old identity, refusing to look away from the monsters that once terrified them, until those very monsters bow in submission and reveal the gold they have been guarding. This obsession with the shadow is a protective mechanism of the highest order, for only by owning the entirety of one's darkness can one become impenetrable to the manipulations of the exterior world. As this transmutation takes hold, the sovereign chosen becomes consumed by the second sacred craving, which is the obsession with radical integrity. This is not the simplistic honesty of the moralist, but a cosmic alignment where every thought, word, and action must resonate with the frequency of the divine origin. It is a state of being where the inner sanctuary is so meticulously polished that not even the smallest grain of deception can find a place to rest. The chosen one begins to feel a physical revulsion toward the social masks and the convenient lies that lubricate the machinery of ordinary human interaction. They find themselves unable to speak words that do not carry the weight of their soul's absolute truth, even when silence would be more comfortable or when truth invites the storm. This radical integrity is the architect's way of hardening the spirit, turning the soul into a diamond that can cut through the illusions of the matrix without being scratched by the debris of falsehood. The third craving manifests as a desperate thirst for the frequency of the void, a sacred silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of the architect's unspoken breath. In the midst of the worldly cacophony, the chosen one begins to hunt for the gaps between the noises, the still points where the physical laws of the universe seem to suspend themselves. They realize that their destiny is not written in the shouts of the crowd, but in the whispers of the wind and the rhythmic pulsing of the silence that precedes creation. This obsession with divine quietude is a strategic withdrawal, a period of silent incubation where the architect whispers the blueprints of the future into the ears of those who have tuned their spirits to the frequency of the unseen. It is during these moments of profound stillness that the blessings of the everyday begin to reveal their hidden majesty, as the chosen one sees the hand of the Creator in the simple geometry of a leaf or the way light dances upon a cup of water, recognizing these as letters of love from the infinite. Beneath these grand shifts, the fourth sacred obsession arises, the craving for elemental purging. The chosen one begins to feel a profound need to strip away everything that is extraneous, everything that does not serve the core mission of their sovereign birthright. This is a season of holy subtraction, where friendships that are based on old versions of the self begin to wither, where career paths that once seemed vital now appear as hollow shells, and where even the physical environment must be cleansed of the clutter of the past. The architect provides a mantle of protection during this stripping process, ensuring that while the chosen feels exposed and vulnerable, they are actually being wrapped in a cloak of celestial fire that prevents any parasitic energy from attaching itself to their expanding light. This purging is not a punishment but a mercy, a clearing of the soil so that the seeds of the sovereign's true empire can finally take root without competition from the weeds of mediocrity. The fifth obsession is the hunger for the quintessence of presence, a state of being so intensely focused on the now that the linear constraints of time begin to dissolve. The sovereign chosen no longer lives in the regret of the past or the anxiety of the future, for they have realized that the only place where the architect's power can be accessed is in the razor-sharp edge of the present moment. This obsession with presence transforms the most mundane tasks into acts of high worship. Washing one's hands becomes a baptism. Walking down a city street becomes a royal procession. Preparing a meal becomes an alchemical ritual of nourishment and gratitude. This is the blessing of the ordinary made extraordinary, a divine gift that allows the chosen to find heaven within the very dust of the earth, anchored by the realization that they are the bridge between the celestial and the terrestrial. As the spirit matures, the sixth obsession takes the form of a craving for sovereign solitude, a state that is entirely distinct from the loneliness of the world. The chosen one begins to guard their energy with a fierce, protective jealousy, realizing that their presence is a sanctuary that must not be defiled by the trivial or the profane. They find a profound, intoxicating joy in their own company, for in the silence of their own being, they hear the constant dialogue between their soul and the architect. This solitude is the forge where the weapons of the spirit are sharpened, the hidden chamber where the sovereign is crowned in secret before they are revealed to the world. It is a period of intense mercy, where the architect shields the chosen from the distractions of the collective consciousness, allowing them to consolidate their power and stabilize their new frequency without interference. The seventh and final craving of this phase is the obsession with the architect's direct gaze, a yearning to see reality as the Creator sees it, without the filters of human dogma or cultural conditioning. The sovereign chosen begins to pray not for things, but for sight. They do not ask for the path to be made easy, but for their eyes to be open to the hidden patterns of providence that govern the chaos of the world. They start to perceive the subtle flow of grace that underlies every challenge, the invisible hand that moves the pieces of the cosmic game in their favor, even when the world seems to be in opposition. This obsession with divine perspective brings a peace that surpasses all understanding, a quiet confidence that their destiny is as secure as the stars in the firmament, protected by the same power that commanded the light to shine out of the darkness. This journey through the shadow and into the light of radical integrity is not for the faint of heart. Yet for those who are marked, it is the only path that offers the scent of true freedom. The architect does not lead the chosen into the wilderness to abandon them, but to prove to them that they carry the kingdom within their own breath. Every moment of isolation, every tear shed in the transmutation of the shadow, and every bridge burned in the pursuit of integrity is a sacred investment in a future that the world cannot conceive. The protection of the sovereign is absolute, not because they are spared from the fire, but because the architect has made them of the fire itself. In the mundane rhythms of life, these sacred obsessions manifest as a sudden, inexplicable feeling of being watched over by a benevolent force, a sense that the very air is thick with the presence of the divine. It is the blessing of the morning sun that feels like a warm hand on the shoulder, the sudden arrival of a needed resource at the exact moment of its necessity, and the quiet internal voice that says, "I am with you, even here." These are the mercies of the architect, the gentle reminders that while the sovereign chosen is called to a path of high responsibility and intense internal labor, they are never walking it alone. The shadow transmutation is almost complete, and the stage is being set for the final unveiling of the sovereign's true nature, where the integrity that was forged in the secret chambers of the soul will become the light that guides a new world out of the darkness. Part 3 awaits the turning of the page, where the full weight of the architect's glory will be scribed for the eyes of the elect. The cosmic tapestry unfurls in its finality, revealing the most profound architectural design ever conceived for the human spirit that has been refined in the furnace of divine isolation. This third and ultimate revelation concerns the 7 sacred cravings that the architect has woven into the very marrow of the sovereign chosen, those rare souls who have ceased to seek validation from the horizontal planes of existence and have instead tilted their gaze towards the vertical infinity of the Godhead. These cravings are not mere desires born of the ego, but are biological and spiritual imperatives, holy addictions designed to propel the initiate beyond the gravitational pull of the mundane and into the celestial atmosphere of eternal transcendence. The first of these obsessions is the craving for primordial silence, a hunger so deep that it transcends the mere absence of sound and seeks the very stillness that preceded the creation of light. For the sovereign chosen, the noise of the world becomes an abrasive friction against their heightened senses, an interference that threatens the delicate frequencies of their communion with the architect. This silence is their fortress, a sanctuary where the roar of the public square is transmuted into the whisper of the divine presence. In this sacred quietude, the architect provides a supernatural protection, a refractive shield that bends the malevolent intentions of the unseen world away from the chosen one's mental sanctuary. This is the mercy of the void, where the soul finds its rhythm not in the frantic pacing of the clock, but in the heartbeat of the cosmos. As the chosen one descends deeper into this addiction to silence, they realize that every breath is a calculated blessing, an intimate dialogue where the architect breathes life into their exhaustion and restores the stolen fragments of their identity. The second sacred craving is the thirst for occult discernment, a relentless drive to perceive the hidden architecture behind the facade of reality. The sovereign chosen no longer find satisfaction in the surface-level explanations of human history or personal interaction. They possess an insatiable need to see the energetic signatures and the karmic threads that bind events together. This is the gift of the third eye, fully awakened, a sovereign sight that identifies a wolf even when it wears the finest silk of a saint. This discernment is an act of divine protection, ensuring that the chosen one never again falls prey to the predatory spirits that inhabit the lower spheres of existence. It is a daily blessing of clarity, where the architect clarifies the muddy waters of deception, allowing the chosen to navigate the labyrinths of the world with the precision of a master cartographer. This craving is an addiction to the truth that hurts rather than the lie that heals. For the chosen know that only the harshest light can banish the shadows of their own lingering delusions. They crave the sting of revelation because it confirms their status as those who are no longer blind, those who have been granted the keys to the library of the invisible. Flowing from this clarity is the third obsession, the hunger for alchemical transmutation. The sovereign chosen do not merely endure suffering, they possess a holy addiction to transforming it. They crave the moment when pain becomes power, and when the leaden weights of their past traumas are dissolved in the fire of their growing divinity. This craving is the engine of their evolution, a refusal to allow any experience to be wasted or any tear to fall in vain. The architect's mercy is most visible here, as he provides the spiritual catalysts, the unexpected meetings, the sudden insights, the miraculous shifts in perspective that allow the chosen to rebuild their lives from the ashes of their former selves. Each day, the architect provides small, mundane blessings that serve as ingredients for this alchemy. A sunset that provides the exact hue of peace needed to soothe a troubled mind. A stranger's word that unlocks a locked door in the heart, or the sudden inexplicable joy that rises like a fountain in the midst of a desert. This is the addiction to becoming, a sovereign drive to never remain static, to always be shedding the skin of the lesser self, to reveal the shimmering scales of the celestial being within. The fourth sacred craving is the obsession with temporal sovereignty, the absolute refusal to be a slave to the linear flow of time that governs the masses. The chosen one begins to crave the rhythm of Kairos, God's time, rather than the ticking of Chronos. They become addicted to the synchronization of their internal clock with the movements of the spheres, finding that when they align with the architect's timing, the impossible becomes effortless. This is where divine protection manifests as the mastery of synchronicity. Doors open before they are even knocked upon, and resources manifest just as the need arises, never too early to cause stagnation, and never too late to allow despair. This craving for temporal alignment is a rebellion against the frantic anxiety of the world. It is the peace of knowing that one's destiny is held in a hand that exists outside of time, a hand that orchestrates every second of the chosen's life with a mercy that is both ancient and ever new. The everyday blessing of this sovereignty is the restoration of the years that the locusts have eaten, a divine compression of growth where decades of wisdom are poured into a single year of awakened living. Fifthly, there is the yearning for celestial solitude, a craving that is often misunderstood by the uninitiated as loneliness. To the sovereign chosen, solitude is the atmosphere of their power. They crave the isolation of the high mountain, not because they hate humanity, but because they love the architect more. It is in this chosen distance that the architect weaves a mantle of protection around them, making them invisible to those who would seek to drain their energy or divert them from their mission. This solitude is an addiction to the frequency of the One, a holy, singular focus that allows no rivals. In the quiet of their sovereign chambers, the chosen receive the blueprints for their next level of transcendence, The mercy found here is the removal of the need for human approval, a liberation so profound that it feels like the breaking of iron chains. The architect blesses this solitude with a richness of internal life that makes the most lavish worldly banquet seem like a handful of dust. Every moment spent alone is a moment spent being recalibrated, recharged, and re-anointed for the tasks that lie ahead in the waking world. The sixth craving is the desire for etheric integrity, an obsession with the absolute purity of their energetic and moral alignment. The sovereign chosen develop a hypersensitivity to any form of compromise, feeling the slightest deviation from their divine path as a physical pain in their spirit. They crave the state of being integer, whole, and undivided. This addiction to integrity is what allows the architect to use them as conduits for immense power, for they are the only ones who can hold the charge without breaking. Their protection is found in their purity. Because there is no darkness within them for the external darkness to latch onto, they become untouchable. The daily blessings of this integrity are felt in the lightness of their step and the clarity of their conscience. The architect shows mercy by constantly pruning the branches of their life that no longer serve this integrity, removing toxic connections and outdated habits with a precision that is as loving as it is ruthless. This craving ensures that the chosen one is always a vessel of honor, fit for the master's use, radiating a light that is both blinding to the wicked and healing to the weary. Finally, the seventh and most potent obsession is the addiction to infinite transcendence. This is the craving to go beyond the beyond, to never settle for any level of awakening as the final destination. The sovereign chosen are addicted to the infinite expansion of their own consciousness, a hunger that can only be satisfied by the architect himself. They realize that there are heights of glory and depths of wisdom that they have not yet even imagined, and they pursue these with a holy fervor that consumes all other desires. This is the ultimate sovereign state, the realization that one is a co-creator with the architect, an eternal being currently wearing a garment of flesh but destined for the stars. The protection here is the highest form of divine favor, the assurance that no matter how far they climb, there is an infinite support beneath them. The mercy of the architect is seen in the fact that he never stops revealing himself, never stops challenging the chosen to grow, and never stops pouring the nectar of his presence into their waiting souls. This is the sovereign awakening, where the mundane and the miraculous merge into a single, seamless reality. The addiction to transcendence is the final bridge between the human and the divine, the point where the chosen one stops seeking God and realizes that God is seeking himself through them. In this state, every breath is an ecstasy, every thought is a prayer, and every day is a sovereign victory in the eternal dance of the infinite. The architect has ordained these cravings not as a burden, but as a compass, guiding the chosen through the storm of the end times into the harbor of their true eternal home. Thus, the sovereign chosen stands as a pillar of light, anchored in the architect's protection, fueled by his mercy, and obsessed with the glory of a transcendence that knows no end.